Welcome to Golden Sessions. For those of you who are new to the group, allow me to introduce myself and what Golden Sessions is all about. I'm doc.PEACE. I'm an empowerment guru, and I'm here to help you align with your purpose. To align with your purpose, create your golden offer, grow your global community organically to make success inevitable. Who here wants to make success inevitable? I mean, we all do, right? I see you, Nicole. Impact Speakers Connect brings together transformation seekers and transformation achievers who are here to level up their personal and/or business lives. And Golden Sessions is a time for transformation seekers to plug in and recharge, getting that fuel that they need to make success inevitable, from mindset exercises to business strategies. And your success is inevitable simply because you're here. You're here working towards your dreams, and you're striving to turn your reality into the vision that you foresee. So here we have trainings on topics that you need help with right now to transform your mindset and help you make success inevitable. You see, I believe that together we thrive. That is my mantra all along. Together we thrive. And you've probably heard me say this phrase time and time again because it's true. Together we truly thrive. So if you're here joining us today, comment hashtag live. And the reason why I want you to comment is because it helps me see that you're here. So I can see your comments on my phone, and it lets us know that you're here with us. And I love to feel your energy, and the comments help me see if you have any questions or any feedback. So comment hashtag live if you're joining us live. And if you happen to be watching the replay later on, comment hashtag replay. So today we have with us an incredible guest. Hello, Nicole.
Hello.
She is a certified nutritionist. She's an herbalist and a plant-based chef. And also, she's a life adventurer. Nicole Bros shines her golden attributes by teaching others how to kickstart their metabolism, feel more energized, and balance their hormones using a mostly plant-based lifestyle. I love this because I'm vegan. She's worked with hundreds of people through corporate wellness workshops, virtual coaching sessions, and online programs. And she's here with us today, sharing her time with us to share with us some tricks and tips to create a healthy and nurtured mindset through our diet. So welcome, Nicole.
Thank you so much, Peace. I'm so happy to be here. That is
Thank,
amazing. What a great group you have.
yes, thank you so much for connecting with us today. So I'm going to just give you the floor, jump right in. Who are you? What what do you do? I know I described some in detail. I want you to give more details. I gave kind of like a brief overview of what you do, but I want to hear it from you.
So I work mostly with clients, but as you mentioned, also doing some like virtual corporate wellness these days. And basically just teaching people how to truly thrive, and using mostly plants. I don't believe that we all fit into one box. I don't think that everybody needs to eat exactly the same. I do think that all of us could eat a lot more vegetables, and Mother Earth has provided, all of the things we need to live a truly healthy life. And that, starts with the body, and then that
Yeah.
translates into our mind. So, one-on-one, I usually work with people for about 6 weeks. We do a blood test. We figure out exactly what's going on, figure out their goals, work with them throughout 6 weeks, longer if needed, but usually within 6 weeks, we can see some really big transformations. So that's kind of where I spend a lot of my time. And then I also try to do just a lot of free things, like this, or webinars in my own group, or just different types of things to really educate people, because I think that education is just lacking so much. So I try to spend a lot of time on that education piece for the community.
Wonderful. So speaking of education, what do you find as the most the biggest question that you get in terms of what do people need help with in terms of really helping them shift their their health and their metabolism, and what are people really asking you and coming to you for?
I would say the biggest thing is energy. because,
Mm,
if you don't have the energy to do things, if you don't have the energy, like it doesn't matter how great our minds are, but if we just feel tired all the time, it makes everything difficult. And there's a lot of us that are just living on coffee, like coffee to wake and wine to sleep, or coffee and beer. Like I see this a lot. Is probably a big one. And then, a lot of people just dealing with kind of like feeling heavy, sometimes excess weight. I don't promote necessarily everyone needs to lose weight, but if it is something that is impacting your life, if it is impacting your health, then that's another big thing that people usually want to work on. But, that all stems back to just, some basic principles. So all of these things are kind of downstream of like digestion and blood sugar balance and all of that. So people come to me for saying, it's hormones or it's energy or it's this. And I'm like, okay, let's work on digestion and let's work on blood sugar balancing. It doesn't sound like,
yes,
but that's what's needed.
I see. Wow. So what do you tell people? What do you tell people when they come to you and they're like, I'm drained. I feel like I don't have a lot of energy. How can I fix this?
So I usually start and look at just the actual nutrients, especially with plant-based clients. B12 is a huge nutrient that's important to have energy. Iron is another one. If you're lacking in either one of those, you
Mm,
will feel a lot of fatigue. Making sure that you're eating also like, so those are micronutrients, the vitamins and minerals. And then the macronutrients, when it comes to carbohydrates and fats and proteins, and making sure you're getting kind of the right mix of that. And it's not, rocket science. We don't need to do math every time we eat, but just, I call it my balanced plate method. Making sure you're eating like a quarter of your plate with protein, half of your plate with veggies, and then a quarter with like a healthy carbohydrate. And, when it comes to carbohydrates, also not overdoing the sugar and things like that, that kind of lead to those highs and those lows.
okay. I want to talk about that a little bit. But before I get into that, the highs and lows that come with the sugar intake, I want to really touch on the whole idea of getting your vitamins and
Yeah.
where to get them from. So, being a pharmacist, I know that there are certain ways you can get your vitamins. You can get them from taking the pills, you can get them from doing the packets of vitamins, or you can do uh, getting them from food, which I know to be the best source. So, can you share with us ways that these essential sources that are high in vitamin B12 and iron?
Absolutely. So, as you said, I'm a big fan of getting them from food too. If someone is feeling really tired and lethargic, then sometimes supplementation is necessary. When it comes to iron, this is really easy to get from foods. Dark leafy greens are really high in iron. They're also high in a ton of other vitamins and minerals. So, always getting dark leafy greens is a great place to start. Seeds also, a lot of seeds are really high in iron and a lot of other, trace minerals like calcium and zinc. And again, I work with a lot of plant-based clients. So those are things that people are concerned about. So I call it my seed solution, like making sure you're getting, pumpkin seeds and chia seeds and hemp seeds, finding ways to incorporate those. So greens and seeds. My favorite way, if you are low in iron, is to use nettle tea. Like,
Hmm.
yeah, at night it's really nice because it's just, it's similar to spinach, but it doesn't, it's not like you're drinking spinach tea. It's just like mild and earthy, but as far as the nutrients, I guess, are similar to spinach. But it's more of just like a mild earthy. It's nice to have in the evenings, and it's just really, really nutrient rich. It's full of also like magnesium and electrolytes, everything that's really good, especially if you're working out or active. So
Ooh.
nettle tea is a really one of my favorite ways to help raise iron levels.
Awesome. I love it. Where
Yeah.
can we get this nettle tea?
You can get it, online. I know if you're local in San Diego, I go to People's. It's a little store, but herb shops will have it. You can find it online in either loose leaf or bag tea. But nettle tea is great. Also, I want to mention beans because beans, a lot of them are high in iron as
Mhm.
well. And, for plant-based people, that's pretty easy to eat beans as well as some tofu and tempeh products.
Wonderful. Okay, so now we've already learned so much already about keeping our energy up by getting certain nutrients and vitamins, and that's awesome. I
Mhm.
love it. So you mentioned about these sugar imbalances that can happen.
Yes.
Can you talk with us about that and how to avoid these sugar highs and lows?
Yeah, absolutely. And so this is actually where I start with everybody blood sugar balancing because when we eat any kind of carbohydrate, any kind of sugar, it goes into our body. Our bodies break that down. Our insulin levels rise. our insulin takes all this and it puts it in our cells, because that's what it's not. When we think about it, is because our body wants to use this for energy. Carbs are energy. So we're like taking these sugars, these carbohydrates, we're putting them into our cells for energy. The problem arises when you have too many of these, and then we need to start storing them in fat or storing them in the liver, or then there's just too much insulin and it can't handle it. This is kind of what leads to diabetes. But before you even get there, when we're if we give ourselves too much sugar, too high carbohydrates, our bodies get used to these raised insulin levels. And so what happens after they raise up, they drop. And so after we have this really high blood sugar, we have all this energy, our energy will drop.
Yeah.
And then that drop also leads to, oh my God, I'm starving and I need carbohydrates. And it's this vicious cycle. So like the most important thing is just stopping that cycle, not having that big spike. And the best way to do this is, of course, limiting sugar, limiting your sugar to 25 grams a day or less, like added sugars. And then, when you are eating your meals, thinking about always getting that protein and those veggies and some healthy fats, and not just having, like a lot of pasta with like tomato sauce. Like that's just a lot of carbohydrates. We're going to have that high, and then we're going to have that low, and then we're going to crave more.
Okay. I get it. So what about, is there a difference in certain carbohydrates?
Yes, that is a great question. Absolutely. Of course, if you're just having like high fructose corn syrup and a candy bar, that is not the same as eating a piece of fruit. Because, one, all food is information. So if you're eating a candy bar, is going to be super high in sugar. It's going to have a whole bunch of, usually weird colorings and flavorings and things like that. When you're eating a piece of fruit, you're getting all of these vitamins, and you're also getting fiber.
Yes.
So when you're eating fiber with the sugar, it's going to be slower released. It's not going to be just like if you're taking, like a spoonful of honey or a spoonful of sugar in your coffee, or again, a candy bar or even fruit juice. Having the whole piece of fruit is so much more beneficial than having just the juice, because normally we wouldn't sit there and eat 6 oranges. But if we did, it would be a lot of fiber and a lot of other things we're getting. When you're just drinking orange juice, you're just getting you're getting some of the vitamins and minerals, but you're getting a lot of sugar, like a quick hit of sugar to the bloodstream.
Okay. And then because there's no fiber, it's not getting slowed down. So it's giving like a rush of sugar, which causes that sugar high. That makes sense. So you kind of touched on the idea of simple carbs versus complex carbs. So that juice is like an example of a simple carb, right? Because it's just getting released directly into our bloodstream. And then there's complex carbs that are mixed with other things like fiber that has that slow release. So
absolutely. And that includes, even potatoes and some of the grains and things. And when it comes to grains, you have to kind of listen to your body. There are certain ones that don't work for everybody. Potatoes, though, they kind of get demonized as this carb, I feel like, right? They're like, oh, potatoes are bad. They're just like white bread. Well, it's not, because it's a vegetable. And potatoes with the skin on are actually very nutrient rich.
Okay.
You don't want to just eat potatoes for dinner, but if you have some potatoes with a healthy protein, we still, if we're working out, we still need these carbohydrates to fuel our muscles, to fuel our brain. Unless you're, doing ketogenesis, which is a whole kind of different story, because we can use fats for energy, but most of us, having some carbohydrates is the preferred way for our body to get the energy we need.
Okay, awesome. Love it. So you touched on this idea of having healthy proteins, combining that with things like starches. So what are some ideas of healthy proteins for someone who's plant-based?
Yeah, so healthy proteins. Beans is a really great one. Chickpeas, lentils, all of these are kind of in the legume family. These are going to have some fiber as well, which is really good for the gut. So beans are a really popular way to get protein. Soy can also be a really good way, whether it's tofu or tempeh, even using soy milk. I know it's been demonized a little bit. I don't know if you've encountered this or seen it, but there's a whole question of hormones with soy, and soy can be a popular food intolerance. So you do want to listen to your body, but if you don't react to soy, the studies that were done showing that it was bad for our hormones were done with the equivalent of 50 glasses of soy milk a day.
Wow.
I don't think that anyone's going to have that. So yeah, don't have 50 glasses of soy milk a day.
I'll try to resist.
Right? Because they're giving it to rats. And so the amount that they gave to rats that they saw these hormone changes was just an astronomical amount.
Wow.
So It can actually be really beneficial at balancing your hormones because it is a phytoestrogen. So it's actually been shown to help prevent, breast cancer and prostate cancer in men. So it actually has
Wow.
a beneficial effect. Again, because we've kind of, manipulated it and modified it, it doesn't react well with everybody. There are a few people that react. So you have to, with anything else, just listen to your body. But soy is a great way to get protein. And also a lot of other nutrients that we need on a plant-based diet. Seeds also, as I mentioned before, hemp seeds are a really great source of protein. The great thing about hemp seeds is they're a complete source of protein. So with plant-based folks, when it comes to complete proteins, it's just the proteins that our bodies can't make naturally. And in
Mhm.
animal products, all of them have all of these 9 essential amino acids. And plants, they're kind of split up. So
Yeah.
most of the time you don't get all of them in one, but as long as you're eating a varied diet, if you're eating a mix of kind of grains and beans and seeds, you're going to get a complete protein.
Ooh,
So it's not
okay.
something you have to think too much about. Just as long as you're getting kind of a varied diet, then you're getting a protein. But I love seeds just because seeds are like what creates life, you know?
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
when
it's
you
so
think about
true.
that, they have everything they need to create a new life. So they're super nutrient dense. So I'm just a proponent of just, chia seeds and hemp seeds and sunflower seeds and sesame seeds and however you can add seeds to your diet to get those in.
Wow, what an interesting idea. Or just it makes sense. The
Mhm.
seed is what the whole is the source of the entire plant. And so if you're going straight to that source, you're getting all those nutrients of what would be created from an entire plant.
Yes.
That's amazing. So you mentioned hemp seeds as a good source of complete protein. What are other sources or other vegetables or seeds that have a complete protein?
So the other two are going to be quinoa, which
Mm,
is we consider it a grain, but it's actually a seed also. But you probably heard the quinoa rage, but quinoa is great. Again, also a source of like zinc and iron and some other micronutrients that we need.
love it.
So quinoa and then soy, and those are really the
Okay.
only complete proteins in there. But if you're
Okay.
eating, rice and beans, that's a complete protein.
Okay.
So, if you're kind of mixing different proteins, a lot of if you're mixing a couple different seeds, usually you can get complete protein also.
Okay. So the three sources of complete protein would be hemp seeds, quinoa, and soy.
Yes.
Got it. Awesome. I want to kind of go back a little bit to this whole conversation we were having about sugar. So I
Hmm.
know that there's so many different sugar replacements, and one of which is really new right now. The big rave is monk fruit.
Hmm.
So can you talk a little bit about monk fruit?
Yes, I actually love monk fruit.
Okay.
So yeah, when it comes to sweeteners, there are all the fake artificial sweeteners that we've had forever. They come in the little colored packets. There's like aspartame and equal and
Hmm.
Splenda and all those. And those oftentimes are shown to have detrimental effects to our gut bacteria, some to our brains. So I really just, if it's made in a lab, it's not really meant to be eaten as food in my book.
That makes
So
sense.
yeah, but I understand, like I like sweet things too. So the two that I recommend, one of them is monk fruit and the other one is stevia. You do want to make sure if you're getting these and they are the purest form, they both come from plants or a leaf. And to extract the sweetness from these, a lot of times you can just put them in liquid or you can distill them down to a liquid, and sometimes, evaporate that into a powder. You do have to be careful depending on the brand. A lot of the monk fruit brands that I've seen are actually mostly erythritol and some water.
Oh,
And
okay.
erythritol is a sugar alcohol, and out of the sugar alcohols, it is one that is better tolerated, and most people are fine with it. In a select few, it can cause GI distress.
Oh,
So I just, again, you have to listen to your body. I kind of just prefer to have the pure stuff, and I have some pure monk fruit drops, and they are awesome. I like them better than the stevia. Have you tried it, Peace? Have you tried them?
I personally have not tried straight monk fruit. So I actually just bought the monk fruit with the erythritol, but I had no idea that it would cause the GI distress. So I haven't even
Yeah.
tried it yet.
And
So
it may
I'm glad
not.
I.
Yeah, for a lot of people, it can actually be beneficial for the gut. But again, our bodies are all so different. So just, I've met people that don't react well to it. And I've met people that have it all the time that are totally fine.
Okay.
So yeah,
Okay.
listen to your body with that.
Okay, awesome. Thanks for that advice. So, another thing that's kind of been a big hit right now is goji berries.
Mhm.
Have you tried those? And what do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I love goji berries. Any kind of berry really is going to be high in antioxidants. Usually, these are dried. They're super high in antioxidants, and they've got a little protein in them too. So they're a little bit
Yeah.
higher protein than some of the berries. So I think goji berries are great. Any kind of berries that you can get, they're lower in sugar and they're
Mhm.
higher in vitamins than a lot of the other fruits.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
So yeah, you've shared so many things about how to really help with our gut, what to avoid and what to take in. What other piece of advice can you give us to really help with our gut health?
With the gut health, really focusing, there's a lot of things that you can do for gut health. There's water, fiber, probiotics, all those things. But the number one thing before you do that is to make sure that you're not eating something that disagrees with you.
Mm,
Because oftentimes the one thing that we take away can make so much more of an impact than all of the things we add. So if you're not having at least one regular solid bowel movement a day, if it's watery, if it's hard, then you want to look at like what you're eating, and see like the biggest culprits can be dairy, corn, soy, wheat, eggs, and nuts are the biggest ones I see. Shellfish can also have a reaction. It's usually more of an allergic reaction, not as much in the gut. But
yeah.
paying attention to the triggers, and it can be anything. I personally can't do dairy. I can't do almonds. I've had clients that can't do oats. I've had clients that can't do quinoa. So it really can be anything. If you're noticing gut distress, the first place to look is see if there's maybe a food that you're eating every day that could be irritating it. And then, from there, making sure we're getting fermented foods is probably the other thing I would say. You can take a probiotic supplement, but again, I love whole foods. So things like kimchi or sauerkraut. If you're getting
Okay.
kombucha, paying attention to the sugar content, some of them are high. Yogurt, coconut yogurt, kefir, anything that's fermented, it has these natural probiotics. And, that's kind of, we don't think about it now, but back in the day, we would have all the vegetables when they were ripe and then we didn't have refrigeration. So the way that we save them is we preserve them and we ferment them and then we eat those through the winter. And so we've kind of evolved to eat
Mm.
fermented foods. We just have kind of gotten away from that with the latest technology.
Oh, that's so true. So you mentioned something about staying away from uh, high sugar content kombuchas and things like
Mhm.
that. What would be a, a certain what how high is high?
Yeah, good question. So when we think about sugar, we don't need a certain amount of sugar, but added sugars, which is on all the labels now, we want to keep that under 25 grams a day. And so if you kind of keep that number in your mind, if you see a kombucha that has 16 grams of sugar, then you're like, that might be okay if that's what you're having for the day. But, if you're
Mm,
having that and then you're having some honey on your oatmeal, or you're having, something in your coffee, or granola oftentimes has a lot of added sugar. So just being mindful of like your overall intake, and then also being mindful of how much you have at once too, because if you have something, if it says it has 10 grams of sugar and there's 2 servings in the jar, and so you drink 20 grams of sugar, again, that's going to cause that blood sugar to rise.
yes,
you
that's
know
so true. I mean, it's so very important to look at the back, the nutrition facts. I think oftentimes you
Mhm.
just kind of like eat something or and then look at the back later on when we're halfway through the bag or halfway through the bottle and you're like, oh
Yeah.
shoot, this was 5 servings and
Yeah.
I had it all. So
Oh, it's only 5 grams.
so yeah, it's very important to look at the back of the nutrition facts. And so one big question that I'm sure we're going to get is, so why is this idea of gut health even so important? How does this play a role in our minds? A lot of people here on this in this community are transformation seekers and achievers. They're looking to really ramp up their life to transform their mind. And it's so very important to get your mind right. So how does gut health play a role in that?
So there's a lot of ways. The number one being that if you're not breaking down your nutrients correctly, you're not absorbing your nutrients, you're not getting all the things you need to truly thrive, to have energy. So it doesn't matter what you're taking in.
Mhm.
If your gut health isn't there, you're not going to absorb it. So there's one thing about what you're eating, and then there's the other thing about being able to break it down. So that's the first way. Gut health also really interesting. A lot of our serotonin, which is like responsible for our mood and our overall well-being, a lot of that is actually created in the gut. So a lot of times I see, if people suffering from anxiety and depression and some of these other mental things, when you look at the gut, we can trace it back to working on the gut first,
Mm.
because there's also, a nerve that goes from the brain to the gut. Is the vagus nerve. So that has something to do with it as well. But also, just the serotonin. In addition, our gut is responsible for like our immune function. There's a lot of our immune cells are made in the gut. So there's a lot of responsibilities that take place here. And so if you can't get this right, it's going to be really hard to get anything else in place. Like everything else is kind of downstream, even hormones, like if we are trying to rid our body of excess hormones, these have to go, through our liver, through our gut. We need to have optimal liver and gut health to be able to like excrete the excess hormones, basically.
Wow, this is good stuff, Nicole. This is
Yeah,
incredible. So,
so important.
right, if anyone's here with us live, and if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in. I can see your questions and see your comments. So, you've been absolutely incredible, Nicole. Thank you so much for sharing with us these amazing tips already. So, I'm going to go into the golden round. So, we already kind of touched on who you are, but what is it about you that makes you so genuinely just authentically you? What are some character traits that you've only found in yourself that make you so special, that you feel?
I feel like the most beautiful thing to me truly is like authenticity, is to like see people shine. Like nothing lights me up more than to see other people just become more of who they are, not even like a better version of themselves, but just, peeling back those layers and finding who they really are. And so I try to give people space to be able to do that, to make it a safe
Yeah.
space around people, whether it's work or personal wise, just try to listen and guide them and encourage them to do the things that serve them and let go of the things that don't serve them, because when I see changes, I've seen it just in friends even. It's like, it's so beautiful just to see people blossom. And that's kind of what
Wow.
lights me up.
I
Now,
love it. I love it.
yeah. I mean, I value people and nature, I think, are just two of the things that I think are the most important thing, is our connections to both of those.
Wow. So you actually kind of already answered my second question. So how do you share your golden attributes? Like you share it by teaching others how to take control of their own lives, how to fix their guts, how to fix their lives, how to transform their mind. It's incredible. So how do you find that sharing your gold light, your genuine, original, loving dreamer, and just being your authentic self? How do you find that by sharing that light with others? How do you find that that brings out the light in others? Like how does that? What's your experience with that?
So I think that, human beings, we're amazing creatures. And we have all this potential. But there's so much, we're limited by our physical bodies, like to an essence we are, like if we don't feel good, if we can't truly like thrive in our physical bodies, then, all of our dreams are just a lot harder, And so I think that when I think a lot of people are struggling on a day-to-day basis to just feel good. And like, I just imagine like, wow, if you can really feel better, if I can teach you the things that so you can feel empowered and you can feel better, like, wow, what can you do? Like, I feel like there's so many more possibilities when you can walk into the day and just be like, I feel good. I feel fueled. My brain feels clear.
Yes.
I don't have that brain fog sitting around. I have the energy to tackle everything. And so I think that just being able to educate people on how to do that and do it in a way that makes sense for them and isn't too overwhelming, hopefully, kind of step by step, and understanding that, we don't have to be this all or nothing, kind of meeting people where they are and then just helping them get to that place where they need to be so they can fulfill their dreams.
Oh, incredible. I love it. You are shining your light so bright, and I so very much appreciate you, Nicole. How did you get here? How did you get to this place where you've not only transformed your life, but you're now transforming others' lives? How did you get to this place?
A lot of work and self-reflection, but not in a bad way, in a really, there's been hardships that I've just learned from. And I think looking at life as not things that happen to us, but seeing as like, how is the universe trying to push me in a direction? And then what kind of opportunities is this opening up? Because there's been times when I'm just like, what is going on? Like, why me? You know, we get into that, like, why me? And then I'm like, okay, no, like, why is this happening to me? Because now I have the opportunity to do this and to really focus on these tools. And so I did a lot of reading. You know, I've connected with a lot of amazing people. I think having a powerful community, you know, people like you in my life, but having people that inspire you in a powerful community and people to talk to and hold accountable, and just having others around, whether that's somebody that you know on a personal level or somebody that you kind of follow or read their books or whatever, but we're all here to help each other. And so like, I certainly haven't learned all this alone. You know,
Right.
I've had other people help me get here. And so like, I hope that I can help others, you know, get here as well.
Wow. Was there any particular, I'm so glad you're here, by the way. Was there any particular moment that helped you really turn on?
You know, what's interesting is that I think actually taking a break, you know,
Mm,
just sometimes we get into the do, and we don't have enough time to be.
yeah.
And for me, you know, last year, you know, some other people probably know, like I took a year off. I don't think everyone needs a year off, but I pretty much like took a break from being super active on social media, from really pushing, because I feel like I was just kind of pushing, you know, for a while, struggling and pushing and maybe not listening, maybe not just being and, you know, reflecting what I really wanted. And so taking a break and kind of looking at it from the outside and seeing what others were doing and then listening to what was going on in here without like hustle, like that, to me, I came back and it was just clear. You
Yeah.
know, I can't say that there was like a defining moment throughout that. I kept waiting for it. I was traveling and I'm like, oh, I'm going to have this epiphany while I'm traveling. And it didn't quite happen that way. It was like I came back and it was just all of a sudden a few, you know, I saw some people doing some things. I'm like, okay, like this is what I'm going to do. And this is my path. And now
Wow.
it was interesting because I had a lot of self-doubt before that.
Mm.
And then it just kind of was like, this is what my heart wants to do. So that stuff is not as important.
Wow. It sounds like you went through a drastic transformation,
Yeah.
a gradual, drastic transformation.
Yes.
And you went from self doubt to feeling more confident in who you are and what you have to offer. And I think that that's so incredible that you took that time to really focus on yourself. And so I think that's a lesson for all of us. So it's important to take that time to really focus on you and your needs and what your vision for yourself, and really maybe pull away from all these distractions of life and take the time you need. And so thank you, Nicole, for sharing with us your story. Is there any other tips or strategies that you'd be willing to share with us today?
The one thing I want to say, well, there's two. There's one, you know, just always listening. And, you know, you encourage this as well, but always like listening to yourself, not just that voice, but like listening to your body. You know, your body
Yes.
is going to be a better teacher than any other person, just really, really listening to your body is number one. And then also just taking it small. Anything you do, just taking it step by step. You know, some people can overhaul and do all the things at once and it's great. But for most of us, you know, when we make one step at a time, whether it's for business or whether it's for our health, you know, doing one thing, feeling comfortable with that, and then doing something else. And then all of a sudden over time, you're like, wow, I've made a huge change, but it didn't feel hard and it didn't feel like a struggle. It was just like a natural reforming of habits.
Wow. Yes, that's so good. It's important not to feel like you're struggling, like you're going uphill or against the flow. It's important to go with the flow sometimes and to let it flow.
Mhm.
And so we have Lauren here. She's live, and she mentioned that a powerful community is everything, and I so very much agree.
Yes, yes. I can't stress that enough on every level.
Yes, right. Um, so can you share with us? I know that you have a micro product coming out soon. I understand it's called Breaking Up with Dairy.
It
Can
is
you share
called
with
Breaking
us
with
more
Mary.
about that?
Yeah. So, you know, as I said, when I mentioned, you know, taking away one thing often has a bigger impact than all the things we add. With many people, this one thing is dairy. And I've just seen it in my own life be so transformational and other people's lives be so transformational, just on every level, hormonal, energy, weight, everything. So I thought, like, let's go over, how we can give this up, because giving up something like that, I understand it's addicting. It's like, geez, So I wanted to go over just the ways that I've done it, and then help people find their why, why we should give this up, help people understand the steps, kind of the mental mindset steps we can do to make these changes. And then also just teach about like the different types of non-dairy milks and non-dairy cheeses and recipes and things like that. So that, it doesn't feel like we're giving something up. It feels like we're kind of learning all of these new ways and new things to make. So that's a master class. I'm doing I'm actually doing a free master class tomorrow at 10 a.m. So the master class is free. Afterwards, if you do want a recording of it and you do want the recipes that go along with it, I'm going to have a launch sale that's just going to be $27. So super low price point to kind of find out, see if giving up dairy will make as big of an impact for you as it has for me and so many people I know.
Oh yeah. I mean, I gave up dairy a few years ago and I have never looked back. Honestly, my experience with breaking up with dairy was hard at first because I'm sure you know that there's a protein in there called casein, which causes addiction in the brain. And so it's in a lot of the dairy products like cheese and milk and all that. And so you start getting this addiction that we formed early on in life from drinking and eating dairy all our lives. And so when you're trying to break up with it, it's like, wait, it just keeps calling you back. And that's because your brain is,
I miss you. You're like,
right? But then after you finally break up with it, when you finally make that break and you give it up, it doesn't taste the same anymore. Like I remember my sister makes these cheesecakes and I remember loving it when I was eating dairy. And then a year later, she made me a cheesecake for my birthday and I had to throw it up. I had to throw it out. Like I couldn't swallow it.
So true. It's crazy. Exactly the same. I can taste it in things now. I'm like, this has dairy.
You can taste it and it doesn't taste as yummy and as delicious as you did before. So if you're thinking, I can never break up with dairy, like I loved cheese, it can change. It can definitely change. So yeah, I think this is great. Thank you so much for inviting us to join you. So tomorrow at 10 a.m., you're doing a masterclass on breaking up with dairy. And then after that, we're going to get the opportunity to get more a recipe guide and all those resources to really make those changes in our lives.
Yes. Recipe guide, non-dairy milk cheat sheet, non-dairy cheese cheat sheet. The cookie recipe is so good. I made it for people that do eat dairy and they're like, are you sure?
I love it. I love it already. I can't wait to try it.
Yes.
So thanks again, Nicole, for taking the time, for sharing this space with us, for teaching us so many valuable lessons on getting our gut health right to help positively transform our mind. And so how can we connect more with you and learn more?
So I am at Dance to the Beat on pretty much everything. I'm very active on Instagram. So at Dance to the Beat, and that's BEET, like the vegetable.
Ooh.
I very much appreciated your food puns, by the way.
Let us entertain you. We're going to have a kale of a good time. And we totally did.
I love that.
And I love the Dance to the Beat. That's so incredibly amazing. You're amazing.
Yeah,
so
and that's my website page is dancetothebeat.com.
Dancetothebeat.com. BEET. Love it. So thanks again, Nicole. You are shining. So thank you for shining your light. And thank you everyone for joining us today here on Golden Sessions with Doc.PEACE featuring Nicole Bros, certified nutritionist. If you have any questions for Nicole, feel free to contact her at dancetothebeat.com or comment them or write a comment in the comment section below. Keep shining, starlings. Bye.